Chapter 8. Womack. Colonel Womack's life at the Jefferson Barracks military post in St. Louis had settled into a monotonous routine. He had grown comfortable with his minimal responsibilities and was content with his uneventful days. However, beneath the facade of contentment, there lingered a deep-seated yearning for more. His aspirations of becoming a general were well known among his colleagues, though most considered it a pipe dream. Womack, too, was not blind to the odds stacked against him. He knew that his lack of commitment to physical fitness and his dubious test results were a testament to his unorthodox approach to career advancement. Yet, he couldn't help but hold on to the hope that someday fate would smile upon him. In the evenings when his duties were done, Colonel Womack retreated to his quarters. His microwave dinners were a testimony to his solitary existence. With a plate of lukewarm food in hand, he would settle in front of his television, which had become his sole source of entertainment and escapism. War movies were his preferred genre, particularly those featuring legendary generals like George Patton. As he watched these films, he allowed himself to drift into a world where he was the victorious leader, where he commanded the respect and admiration of his troops. It was a brief respite from the stark reality of his career, a reality where advancement seemed increasingly unlikely. As Colonel Womack's career at the Jefferson Barracks military post in St. Louis neared its end due to mandatory retirement, he found himself with even fewer responsibilities and more time on his hands. His daily routine remained consistent, consisting of endless walks up and down the barracks halls, accompanied by a large cup of coffee that seemed almost surgically attached to his hand. Colonel Womack had become known for his incessant need to engage in conversations with anyone who would lend him an ear, regardless of whether they were willing participants or unfortunate bystanders. His stories of the past were a staple of his daily interactions, and he had a knack for weaving tales of his experiences into his monologues. However, not everyone at the barracks was eager to partake in these conversations. Womack's imposing size and the unflattering nickname Mac Attack that had been bestowed upon him weren't solely due to his appetite for fast food. His sheer physical presence was overwhelming, along with unpleasant conversations were enough to make people actively avoid him. Those who had the misfortune of being cornered by him during one of his coffee-fueled rambles would often find themselves struggling to maintain their composure. The colonel's breath, tainted by the combination of coffee and cigarettes, was as tremendous as his presence. It was not uncommon for people to try to escape his proximity to avoid feeling nauseated from the noxious odor. As Colonel Womack approached his mandatory retirement, his days at the barracks seemed to drag on, filled with his ceaseless wanderings and relentless storytelling. Some might have viewed their final years as a time to reflect on his career and pass on wisdom to younger officers, but for many, it was a period of enduring the Mac Attack's exhausting presence and avoiding the unfortunate encounters that came with it. As Colonel Womack's day began, it seemed like any other routine day in his career. He embarked on his usual morning ritual, making a pit stop at his local convenience store, the TLC One Stop. There he filled up his trusty 32-ounce coffee mug, a constant companion that kept him awake and fueled his seemingly endless conversations. He also purchased 2 packs of Camel-filtered cigarettes, a familiar vice that had been a part of his daily routine for years. As he drove away from the TLC One Stop, Colonel Womack likely contemplated the mundane nature of his day. Retirement loomed on the horizon, and he couldn't help but feel that each passing day brought him closer to the end of his military career. The barracks, a place he had known for a significant. The final leg of Colonel Womack's uneventful career awaited him. He drove in the left lane of the eastbound highway, a Camel's cigarette dangling from his lips. He absent-mindedly toyed with the cigarette pack between his fingers before finally placing one in his mouth. As he reached for the lighter, resting in the cubby beside the SUV's gear shift, he noticed his phone was ringing. It dawned on him that he must have forgotten to switch the ringer back on at some point. Unaccustomed to receiving calls, he eagerly answered it. "Colonel Womack," he muttered weakly, hardly recognizing his own voice. "If you wish to attain the rank of general, pull over," the voice with a strong German accent on the other end commanded. And then the voice vanished.